Good morning. This is Marshall Davis. This episode is on the 21st saying in the Gospel of Thomas. I'll read it for you. Mary said to Jesus, "Whom are your disciples like?" He said, "They are like children who have settled in a field which is not theirs. When the owners of the field come, they will say, 'Let us have back our field.' They will undress in their presence in order to let them have back their field and to give it back to them. Therefore, I say, if the owner of a house knows that a thief is coming, he will begin his vigil before he comes and will not let him dig into his house to carry away his goods. You then, be on your guard against the world. Arm yourselves with great strength, lest the robbers find a way to come to you. For the difficulty with which you expect will surely materialize. That there be among you a man of understanding. When the grain ripened, he came quickly with his sickle in his hand and reaped it. Whoever has ears to hear, let him hear." Now, the first thing I notice in this saying is that it is prompted by Mary. This is Mary Magdalene, of course, not Mary, the mother of Jesus, or one of the other Marys that are mentioned in the Gospels. This is Mary of Magdala, one of Jesus's closest disciples, although a female one, and therefore not listed in the list of disciples in the canonical Gospels. That itself tells us that Thomas's gospel goes beyond the male dominance that we find in the New Testament. Mary asked Jesus, "What are your disciples like?" Now, this is a different question than what is the kingdom of God like, which is the typical way that Jesus formulates his answers, even when he's not specifically asked this question. He is asked about those who identify as followers of Jesus here. And Jesus' answer is in four parts using four different analogies. First, he says, they are like little children living in a field that is not theirs. When the owners of the field come, they will say, "Give us back our field." They take off their clothes in front of them in order to give it back to them, and they return their field to them. Now, I love this image. First of all, these are children, not adults. Jesus often used children as examples of those who are of the kingdom of God. And here we have another example of that. These children are living in a field. So they've settled in a field which is not theirs. In other words, they are squatters. They are homeless children living in a field. Now, that immediately causes my mind to wonder how they are living there and what type of shelter they have. In any case, the owners come and they want the field back and they want the kids out of there. Jesus says that the children then take off their clothes and give them back the field. They take off their clothes. Now, that seems like a very strange response to this request of other people. But what is Jesus getting at here? I think he is alluding to the biblical story of Adam and Eve, naked in the Garden of Eden, before they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. These children are innocent, pure, like Adam and Eve. They have no shame when it comes to nakedness, just like children today don't have shame when it comes to nakedness. Our kids and grandkids used to run around naked all the time when they were young. It is the natural condition of humanity. Before we begin to identify as separate creatures, identify with the cultural taboos that separate us from others. So these children are representative of those who are one with the natural environment. They live in what we might call non-dual awareness. They have no conception of separateness from everything else, and therefore they have no conception of ownership or possessions. And when these adults come and demand their field back, these children don't know what they're talking about. I don't even imagine that someone can actually own a field. It doesn't make sense. So they give up the only thing that seems like might be theirs, the only that would be their clothing. So they just shed everything. This reminds me of Jesus teaching on non-resistance in the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus said, I tell you not to resist an evil person. If someone slaps you on your right cheek, turn to him the other also. If someone wants to sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. That is what these kids are doing naturally. In reality, we own nothing, not real estate, not even the clothes on our back. These children were naturally demonstrating that truth to the field owners. And Jesus is saying that this is the way it is with his disciples. And they teach others by doing. They teach through actions, actions that communicate the reality that there is no self to own anything, no self, and therefore no possessions. Then Jesus uses another analogy. He continues, for this reason I say, if the owners of the house know that a thief is coming, they will be on guard before the thief arrives and will not let the thief break into their house and steal their possessions. Now that parable will sound familiar to those of us who know the canonical Gospels. But here Jesus puts it in a different context, and therefore it has a different meaning here. In Matthew's Gospel, Jesus puts it in an apocalyptic context of the coming of the Son of Man. In that Gospel, he says this, if the owner of a house knew the time when the thief would come, you can be sure that he would stay awake and not let the thief break into his house. So then, you also must always be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you are not expecting him. In Thomas's Gospel, there is no apocalypticism. Instead, there is non-duality, which is a very different context. In this context, Jesus is building upon the first story about the children being naked in the field. The owners of the house are the same as the owners of the field. Both are owners tied to ownership. That is the only reading that makes sense to me. They have a possessive mindset. They think a field is theirs. They think the house is theirs, and all the things in the house are theirs. So they need to protect it. Their possessions and their house, their field are an extension of what they think they are. Therefore, they are very anxious and they are very afraid of someone taking that away, someone breaking into their house or squatting on their field, taking their stuff. This describes modern people in America so well, especially the gun culture. We're so quickly to turn to guns in order to protect us and what we think is ours. People are scared, and so they buy an arsenal of weapons to protect themselves and their possessions. And because they don't know when the robbers are going to break in, like in this parable, they're anxious all the time. They live a life of anxiety. Just like these owners of the field were anxious about the children squatting on their field. Notice there's no concern at all for the children, these homeless children. They were literally willing to take the clothing off their backs. The difference between the followers of Jesus and followers of the world is that we care more for people than possessions. We know that we cannot really own anything. Nothing is ours because there is no self to own anything. That's why Native Americans could not conceive of the white man who was coming west and they saying that they own the land on the American frontier. And never occurred to them that land could belong to them. They belonged to the land. They were one with the land. But we have bought into the illusion that we can own things. And so we protect our things every way we can. The next part of the saying is this: as for you then, be on guard against the world. Prepare yourselves with great strength so the robbers can't find a way to get to you. For the trouble you expect will come. Let there be among you a person who understands. Here Jesus warns us against the world. Robbers can only steal things, but the world can steal our identity, and it does steal our identity, steals our soul. He says here to prepare yourselves with great strength so the robbers can't find a way to get to you. Notice here it doesn't say get to your things or get into your house, but get to you. That's the real danger. That in seeking to guard all those things that we think are ours, we lose ourselves. We lose the sense of who we really are. As Jesus said elsewhere, what is the profit of man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? In other words, he encourages us to be more concerned about spiritual matters than material matters. Jesus ends the saying with these two sentences. When the crop ripened, he came quickly carrying a sickle and harvested it. Anyone here with 2 good ears had better listen. That's one of the translations. This is another shift in metaphors here. This time it's a farming one, but the message is clear. Don't hesitate when you see worldliness and possessiveness and preoccupation, obsession with self creep into your life. Act quickly so that our identity as what we really are, what we might call children of God, is not lost. We came into this world naked and we will leave naked. Since we never came into it, we never leave it, we come out of it. We are always one with it. And in the meantime, we are always naked. We can cover ourselves up all we want with some sense of identity and with clothes, but we're all naked under this physical or mental clothing that we clothe ourselves with. And no one can steal what we really are. But we can lose sight of it. We can forget it, forget what we really are. That's the human condition. The realization of our true nature is what it means to be a follower of Jesus Christ. Whoever has ears to hear, let him hear. And that is it for today. Grace and peace to you.